Okay.
So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our August Lunch and Learn from our CC&R team. Our program for today is really about the life cycle of a building project at the University of Virginia. And our presenter today, Kit Myers, who is our construction project manager. Kit, without further ado, take it away.
Well, welcome. Good to see you all, and welcome to see folks who are on the screen as well. Mark's already said this, but yeah, I would much rather be interrupted with questions and make sure that I'm answering things that you're interested in as opposed to just telling you what's on my slides. So I'll just kind of jump in. One of the first things is I think that there's some feeling that we're somehow remote or not as interconnected with the rest of facilities. And so I just thought I would explain how we fit in. Some of those things in the blue are more administrative, but on the bottom, the orange is sort of what we think about with facilities, right? Our operations, our health systems, energy and utilities, and then capital construction. So of course, I'm part of capital construction because I do construction. And then just breaking that down a little further, Tim Rowland is actually in the back of the room here, and you can see that underneath him, he's making sure I'm not going to lie to him. Well, I guess what I'm doing is I'm breaking out that in capital construction, there's Bree, and a lot of you all folk know her. And so she does all of the construction and renovation that's say maybe inside the building as opposed to building a building. And then on the left side, that other group, that's our contract administration folks. So they help us, write the contract, make sure we have the liability, the insurance, and so forth to do the risky work that we do. So under Tim, there are 45 employees on both the health system and the academic side. And we do a lot of work for 45 people. And there's a couple different ways sort of to think of it financially. This is, how much does it cost to run each department in the facilities management? So you can imagine operations has a lot of people, right? So that's a lot of salaries. I just mentioned at CC&R, especially if you get to just Tim's, we're not so many people. So our budget to run, we don't have tools and cars. I mean, we have some, but not nearly as much as say like operations would have. So we're a fairly economical department to run for the facilities. But when you look at like how much money runs through the department, what they call our book of business, obviously if we're building a large building, we're going to be paying millions of dollars to contractors, to architects, to engineers, surveyors, lots of people. So a lot of money runs through our department, even though we're only 43 people. Well, this actually includes Bree's group too, but they're less than 30% of that. Yes, sir.
I had a question for you. It actually goes to maybe to our next slide. Oftentimes when we talk about construction, and more specifically with CC&R, we talk about capital construction. Can you tell us what capital means in terms of the capital construction component?
Yeah, sure. So capital construction used to mean 2 million. Now it's 5 million and above. And then we also have major capital, which they're sort of fishing around for a definition of that right now. I mean, it's really almost more than 10, 20. We've got projects that are 300. I don't know Manning. Manning is one of the biggest projects we're running right now, maybe 500 million, something like that. It's a lot. So it's a group of projects, but it's to support a single building, so, I'm trying to think. I built Lacey Hall 15, 20 years ago, and I think we did it for 6 million, right? So a building can be a lot of different numbers, right? But capital just means that it gets to the level where, I'm going to talk about this in the rest of the presentation, we have to go up to the Board of Visitors and ask for permissions. It's not something where you can say, I'd like to add a cubicle in my area, I'd like to freshen up the carpet or anything like that. Capital means it's a big project. Okay, so capital planning, yeah, this is capital. And also just who are our clients. So we think of all the different parts of the university in terms of, who is funding the project. It could be housing, it could be athletics. I say the provost, like the provost ran something like a central service like the library, but also all of our 13 colleges, the law school, engineering, the College of Arts and Sciences, any one of those can be a customer or a client of ours. Health system is obviously a monster big client. It could be ITS. We could be just building a data center. It could be FM. Right now we're doing the heat plant conversion. So we're doing a project for ourselves as well. So this is supposed to give you a little sense of the complexity of what it's like to run the project, and how long it takes us to go through all of the steps to actually get a shovel in the ground. And this is something that we do in conjunction with the architect's office and whoever is supporting the project. So if athletics wants to build Palmer Park, they're obviously part of this, but so, they can't just decide where to put the park by themselves. They've got to talk to the architect's office, and they can't just slap up a cardboard, building. They have to talk to FM. So we're really a team of people that is doing all of this, getting our strategy, our funding, going to the Board of Visitors. We have to have a project approval, a financial planning approval, design approvals, all the series, and this can take a long time. So I just thought I would use an example. This is the project that I recently finished, which was the renovation and addition to the library. So the first time that we wrote a PIF, a project initiation form, to the state was in 2002. And we finished the project in 2024. So these are really long projects sometimes, especially when we need state funding. If we have our own funding, it's a little bit easier, as you might imagine. And it includes lots of different things. I tried to sort of color code, in orange, those are just the construction pieces, hiring the contractor, building the project. Bumping into problems like rock, which caused a 9-month delay on that project. And making sure, we were opening up so that no student ever went to the university and didn't have a central library. So there was a lot of pressure to get open, maybe whether we were done or not. The library did all kinds of documentation. They had to move all of the books. They had to move all their staff out. So they had a huge part in this. Faculty didn't want us to do it. I mean, we can be dealing with things like not just, what's the cost of lumber, but how do we convince our community that we will not ruin the character of the university or the library, and that we also are partners in this endeavor in our community. So we have to deal with a lot of funny different things.
Can I ask, when was the Board of Visitors involved in this part, in this example?
Yeah.
That's just
I'm just trying to think. No, is this? Yes, so here it is. So yeah, 2013 was the first time that they gave us project approval. And then we also get, so down on the bottom, it's going to the state over and over and over and over and asking. And it's hard because we set the project budget finally, I think it was around 19. So we came up with a budget in 2013 in order to ask for the project. But meanwhile, inflation is happening, you're designing, things are happening. So it's really difficult. We work escalation into our project budget. So we say, all right, let's go to the state. This could take 5 years before we can really actually get there. So we'll include 5 years of what we anticipate inflation being, but it's, it's impossible to know. But even here, so we went to the state in 2019 with a $152 million project, which is pretty much where we ended at the end if we hadn't hit the rock. Other than that, we hit that $152 million budget 9 years later. So that's part of what we have to do, is be able to maintain these things over long periods of time. And then the top is more about the BOV approving the architect, the BOV reviewing the documents. And this one was really good. We did the schematic. You have to do 2 reviews. One is a schematic review and one is a schematic approval. So here we did one in June and one in September. Boom, boom. They loved it. It was fantastic. The project I'm working on right now got its review in December and we still haven't got approval. So it can be, again, just the high level of interaction and I like to call it help that we're getting from everybody.
Can I ask another question?
Of course.
Earlier you mentioned escalations
Yeah.
that are entered into the budgeting process.
Yep.
Oftentimes we realize that there's global effects that impact prices and
Yeah.
other things. Are there any tools within that escalation tool that's included that take into consideration some of those adjustments and changes? Or is it just kind of a, well, who knew that 2008 would happen, right? Or who knew something else would happen, and now we have to go back to the drawing board, so to speak?
Those things do happen for sure. So we often say on a very large project, and when it's very complex, like the library where we were demolishing a building and building a new building adjacent, we hire a construction manager, and we actually rely on them a lot for the estimating and for knowing the global market. Now, again, this project went out for bid in March of 2020, and nobody knew yet that COVID was big. And so we hit a lot of problems. We had several subcontractors go out of business. We had trouble, getting our transformers across the sea from the Atlantic. I mean, it was a lot of challenge. And they came to us and said, when we bid this, we didn't know this was going to be like that. And it was tough because there's a certain amount of, we hire at risk. So we hire a construction manager at risk. Any changes we make, we pay for. But they have said, if this is what you want, this is how much it costs, and this is what you're going to pay for it. And that's our protection to the state and to the taxpayers, right?
I will share, there's a follow-on question from Erica. Erica, thank you for the question. When there's a significant delay, like 9 months, does UVA absorb the costs of that, or does the prime contractor?
On that one, let's say that had been because they had made a mistake, then they would absorb the cost. But this was rock that was found underneath the existing building, and we had record documents from the 60s that were incorrect. And so this was not the contractor's fault. So this was this was something that we didn't cause, but neither did they, and we're the ones benefited. So that one, we paid for that cost.
So really it depends based on the situation.
That's right. That's what those contracts are written up to say. Yeah.
Erica, does that answer your question? Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is stepping back out. Instead of just talking about like the library, how does the university come up with its major capital plan? And so this is where we are today. So these numbers are in millions. So we have a $2.1 billion capital plan. Not all of those projects are, some of those are in design, some of those are in construction, some of those are near completion. That's just everything that's on the books. And they're, again, talking about like what happened in 2008, or what's happening right now. Projects are getting deferred. So because of the market uncertainty, you can see there's a removal of 3 previously. They were already authorized by the board, but they've been pulled back. And we're saying, well, we're going to do these later when the market is not so uncertain or, various reasons. So this is redone every year. So it's not like, oh, well, you're on the project, you're going forward. You are continually going through all of these approvals and requests to move forward. I don't know if there's anything else I needed to include in there.
I had just an additional question.
And there it says 5 million or more for capital.
How often does it happen where maybe a project's 75% of the way through and then falls apart? Or does that happen often?
Never. I mean, if you're talking, once we're in construction, I think we finish it. If you mean 75% the way through design, that's rare. I would say that a project can get through concept, study, and go on the shelf, maybe even schematics and go on the shelf. So again, at the moment, I'm working on the Center for the Arts, and the state has deferred our funding. And so far, we've spent about 5% of the total project budget to do the study, the programming, schematic design, bringing it to the board for their review, preliminary design, starting to move towards the construction documents, but we don't yet have the okay from the state for the full funding. So we've spent about 5% of the project budget. It might go on the shelf and never happen. 75%, you're in, you're going.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there you can see a little bit more about what's under construction, what's proposed for planning, what's been deferred. Again, it's that 2 billion is not everything in construction. And actually, if I go back to that book of business that had 588 million, that's pretty close to what we're spending in construction. Some of that is architecture fees and stuff, but most of that is construction. And so I just thought it might be interesting for people to see what we're looking at right now. So these are things that are, well into planning. They have a project manager assigned. They're variously approved through that process. And so these are the things that are coming down the pike, things that, we will probably be coming and talking to you all, right? A lot of you who are on the call, if you're operations or if you're sustainability or if you're energy and utilities, it's our job to come and talk to you all as well about the heat plant or, a transportation facility, right? I know I have interacted with several of you who are in here or parts of your organization. And then this is just interesting because it puts a dollar number. So this is academic and medical and WISE. I mean, we do also take care of things at Blandy Farm, the coastal research, Mountain Lake. But the three main ones that we tend to track are academic, medical, and WISE. And so you can see that over the last 5 years, there was a dip after COVID, and then it's climbing back up again. So we stay pretty busy. And then this is yeah, go ahead, Keith.
Just eyeballing it, it looks like what I expected, where people freak out, stuff slows down, and then you have to make up for lost time. That looks maybe like, I guess there's also 40% escalation of costs in that mix too, so maybe it's not totally accurate.
I agree with you. I think that the numbers don't necessarily reflect just square footage, but then this is a longer look, but and then sorry that this is so tiny, but this goes from 2005 to 2029, so anticipated, and it's showing just how many square feet we have added to the university that people have to take care of. And it's a more steady line, but it flattens out at times. You mentioned 2008 earlier, and that was actually a bump. Contractors were desperate for work, and we were building residence halls much more cheaply. And so instead of doing one building, I had a project for 3 buildings and then a project with 2. And we were building beds very cheaply. So sometimes.
Yeah, all these dorms right here were built around then, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yep.
So with that said, do you have maybe a stack of projects that are on the shelf waiting for next steps, I guess, or?
Not me, but Tim would.
So Tim, that's a great question. How many projects would you say are in the wings waiting for various processes?
Previously, the capital plan had a number of projects that were things thought they would be good. We'd love to do this. The board approved, and they sat on the capital plan for a number of years. Over the last few years, that list has been winnowed down of if it's been on the capital plan for 10 years and you haven't secured funding for it, then it comes off.
Okay.
So the list has shrunk considerably as we kind of navigate through the current time. But Center for the Arts is the biggest one waiting for funding. Work at the college at WISE is all dependent on state funding. A lot of the work that we do here, either the university will do either through university debt or through philanthropy. College at WISE is predominantly state funded.
Sure.
So like the gap at the Center for the Arts is state funding for that project.
Fair. Thank you.
So then funding is such a big part of these capital projects. And so where do we get the money? How do we package the business plan for these? And so these are the main sources. gifts. So the Center for the Arts has a $55 million LEAP gift from Tessa Ader. And that 5% that I've said that we've spent on planning, that was actually money that was given to the university. State general funds. So there's the larger the academic component, the more likely that in my opinion, that the state is going to fund it. So like Gilmer Hall, the library. So we're always trying to show how it's instructional space. And so the Center for the Arts, for instance, will have the Department of Music, the Department of Dance. It'll have our museums, which they also are a huge resource to Central Virginia for K through 12 programs, not just university students. And that's the kind of thing that the state says, the university is not just helping themselves, they're improving the whole Central Virginia. And that's how we have convince them to give us money. Operating cash or revenues. So if you're building a residence hall or a track stadium, then those departments really they rely on the money that they make in order to build their own facilities. And then debt. You can borrow money from the Central Bank of UVA. There's a finance department at UVA that will loan money to your department. And so that you can do that too.
So we know how much it costs to put your name on a brick. How much does it cost to put your name on a building?
Well, how much does it cost to put your name on a brick? I don't know
It's
that.
like $1,500, I think.
Where's that come from?
I thought it went like at the stadium. I thought,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't think that there's a set.
How big's the building, I guess? That's the other question.
I do think that while there's a lot of interior naming, it feels to me like maybe there's less naming going on exterior, on buildings themselves. I don't know if that's true or not. You guys can tell me, but there's been a lot of naming changes lately.
Sure. And actually, GT has a question. He's currently typing. GT, if it's easier, you could just come off on your mic either way. Still typing.
Okay. You let me know.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I guess the question mainly is, does UVA have sort of a go-between, liaison type person that helps with any negotiations or, when asking or appealing for more funds with the state? I realize there has to be some sort of negotiations and concessions that have to be made, and especially with so many interests that politicians may have or differing interests. How does that work out? Are there concessions that have to be made in order to get the funds?
That's a good question. I would say it's not exactly concessions and negotiations, I don't think, or not usually. We have the university has the Department of State and Governmental Relations. It actually used to be in Colette's portfolio, and of course, you all probably know that facilities reported to Colette, the SVPO, now Lois. And that's actually shared with the president's office. And these are people who keep their relationships with our senators in Richmond for all things. I mean, there are a lot of ties between the university and Richmond. So not just capital projects. And then what the state does, the university follows the same procedure that Virginia Tech or William and Mary would do. We have, again, early on, there was that PIF, a project initiation form. There's a cost review number 2 that you have to fill out at SD. So there's a whole series of milestones of the way that you interact with the university when you're writing your justification to get money for the state. I've never heard of any kind of tit for tat. If that happens, it happens way over my pay grade. But it tends to be, I think that the state tries to treat all of its children the same. And so, we're trying to get money for a Center for the Arts, and we will point out that, Mary Washington and Virginia Tech, they got money from the state for a Center for the Arts. So we'd like to have the same facilities, So.
But Mom.
That's right. That's right.
That's great. Well, thank you.
Yeah, sure. This is a good question. I'll just add one more thing, which is we also will use our BOV, right? Those members are appointed by the governor to be, our regulating authority, and they have relationships. And so sometimes we will also talk to them and say, could you please be an advocate for the project that we're trying to support? So that helps.
Keith, did you have a question?
Yeah, similarly from a different bucket of money, like for the Center for the Arts, for example, a $50 million gift is extremely generous. These donors have like time limits. Do they get impatient? Like, I'm sure they have this beautiful thing built that they put all this money towards.
Yeah. So
Yeah, did they already give the money, or is it like when it reaches a point?
both.
When I cut the ribbon, you get the check.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That does happen where we're really trying to meet the donor's wishes, but obviously we have to balance this. We're building 100-year buildings. They have to be safe, they have to be cost efficient, they have to be all of the things that we provide. So yes, that's important to us in the mix of all the things that are important to us.
But directly to your question, that would be for development. That's
Yeah.
kind of outside our
Okay.
purview.
You're like, we're just trying to let something out of the ground.
Yes.
Where that comes from.
That's right.
We're told that by finance, that yes, the money's there, or no, the money's not. And that's.
Yeah, it's a different group
That's
that's
part-
talking
yes.
to the donor.
Exactly.
I will share, Erica, I think you were typing a question. If you want to come off mute, feel free to jump in.
Well, thank you. I think we just had the audio go out for a minute, and I was about to type about that, but then it came back.
Oh, great. Well, apologies.
So this was a part that we don't have to deal with very much, but I just thought I would mention because it's certainly important to facilities. So there's the cost to there's the cost to build the building, but then there's also the cost to run the building. And if we're going to keep adding square footage to the total university maintenance and care program, we do expect the sponsor of the project to have a certain amount of money in their business plan that will go towards actually running the building after the building opens. So it's not something that, I have to do, but it is something that they have to submit with their business plan for the project.
So this assists us with forecasting for hiring, for planning for the future.
That's right. I'll get questions from Mark Webb about the Center for the Arts. What special systems do you think are going to be going in, or at the library? What special finishes do you guys have so that they can make sure that they're calculating the right number of people to take care of it later? This last part is more closely aligned to what I do, and I can go into it. It kind of gets in the nitty gritty. If I didn't get through these slides, I still think it would be a good presentation. So I can keep going, but this also might be a place to just kind of pause and say, are there more questions that people have about how the university decides to build a building and where to put it and how to get it done?
I will say we have a large amount of apprentices in the room, and I think several might be interested in what does the life of a project manager look like, specifically working with CC&R, and what does it take to become a project manager?
That's a funny one for me. So many of the people in my department are architects or engineers, right? And they have worked out on the other side. They've either worked for contractors or they've worked for a structural engineering firm that helped us, or that had helped higher ed build buildings or something like that. But the truth is that what I do is really represent the requirements of the university. And so I am the apprentice's dream. I was hired at UVA.
Whoa, how cool is that?
Need for bodies in one place and not. Managed to come up to largest projects, then actually I think some I do well
Excuse me.
I mentioned that they lost audio. Can you
Thank
hear
you.
us now?
We can now.
Okay.
We
Apologies.
lost everything after Kit said that she is their dream.
That's all, that's all.
Okay, good.
Probably is not more to say.
So there are opportunities at FM. So, what I was going to say next is the thing that I think, and everybody offers a different value, right? But because I come out of operations, I really try to bring my projects back to operations. I like to meet with Ryan Taylor and I like to meet with, Paul's Mix people. And I like to make sure that the thing that I'm being built can be taken care of by, my brothers and sisters here, right? Because I get that this building is for our client, but I know the people that are really going to be in there every day is us at FM. So I think that's one of the things that I happen to bring.
Thank you, Kit.
And a bit of pit bull and some other things too.
I will share, for those of you who are joining via Teams, I apologize about any audio issues. We are using the room microphone, so it should pick up all the conversation and things like that. We do appreciate the input, and apologies for any disruption in service.
And I want to mention one more thing. There's a colleague of mine, Caitlin Murtaugh, if any of you know her, she also was an apprentice, and now she's a project manager in our group too. All right, so this is really kind of getting down into, essentially what I do is I manage construction. All that other stuff is the background that gets us to where, I get to really take the bull by the horns and manage it. And so, of course, these are the things, parts of a building that you all are very familiar with. And then there's also all these other things. We have to hire an architect and surveyors, and we have to do cost estimates. And there are a lot of other little pieces. So the project budget is partly construction, and it's partly all of these indirect costs. And this is just more of them, contingencies for furniture, fees that we pay to other people at the university, the cost of doing business here. Most of you have probably heard somebody around here talk about how the university is like a small city, right? So it's almost like if you were building in the city versus building here. If you're building in the city and you were a private developer, you might be paying the city something. Well, I'm the private developer, so to speak, and there's another part of UVA that I'm, paying. Contingencies, nothing ever goes great. I mean, the rock was probably the worst thing that I've ever hit, but you're always gonna find unknowns, or sometimes, again, given the time frame of this, when I was building the data center, the people who had done the very beginning concept study were gone by the time we were doing construction. And you can imagine how fast the technology is changing. And that was changing. So even in the middle of construction, sometimes we're trying to make changes to keep up to make sure that day one it's a relevant project. So we have contingencies for construction and project. The owner's contingency is the client. If the client makes changes, then they have to throw the money into that. And then this is how it breaks down. I mean, most of the money is spent for construction, right? The cost of a building, most of it is the building. Those other indirect costs are smaller portions. And so that's sort of what the breakdown looks like. And for fun, the average is the slide that somebody else had made. And then I pasted in the library using that same thing. It comes out pretty similar.
So the library was that average? I mean, the 9-month delay, $11 million expense with finding the rock was added on top. Was
It's
new,
into the construction in that sense.
but overall, it still ended up being an average.
The apportionments stayed about the same. Yeah.
I guess that makes sense still, though. Yes.
What does FF&E stand for?
I was going to ask that.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment.
Cool. All the things.
Yeah.
So keep your eye open for the restore. They might have some of that stuff here shortly.
Well, they moved it.
You can still check the website.
Yeah,
tell you.
but it's thumbnail photos. They're like
Yeah,
that
that's
big.
true.
Sorry not to complain, but I tried. I'm into it.
That is.
That's the improvement.
These two were.
Oh, yeah, because I'm like, what is that table? And the pic, just like, click to enlarge, and it's the same size. It's like,
Right.
okay,
It's much better than it was.
Okay, all right, haven't checked it out. That person.
It was really good when the library was empty. We actually held surplus sales
It
in
was
the basement
so
of the
cool.
library.
I went early and all the card catalogs were already like spoken for, but I got a cool like leather chair.
Yeah.
I got a leather chair too.
Did you get like one of the black ones? And it's like,
Ours was brown, but like it's at really low.
Yeah, nice.
You sink into it.
That's awesome.
All right. Lots of information. Keith.
I don't have, I feel like someone else can go first.
What projects are you managing right
The Center for the Arts, which even though the funding is deferred, we're still going after trying to get the schematic design approval from the board. And that's $315 million. And then the North Grounds parking garage, which is, we just put up our crane over there by John Paul Jones. It's a crawler, pretty cool. And that is about 50 million. And yeah, I wouldn't mind one more, Tim. Unless the Center for the Arts starts flying. If the Center for the Arts got funding, I'd be super busy. But it's sort of stuttering a little right now.
how often have you said I would like one more? Like, aren't we,
Never.
I was gonna say, aren't we usually like,
Never.
it's a unique
Never.
time, right?
This I've never.
Yeah.
I love to work hard and give me lots of work. And there's been lots of work.
Yeah.
So is right now, is that a small amount? Or,
No, but to
Oh,
have
okay.
355 is a lot, but the thing is only the 50 million is really active. The 315 is kind of stuttering a little bit right now.
yeah, I've heard about that.
I mean, again, these numbers are random, like the library was 152 for most of the project. And I don't know, I was coming off McCormick, had the North Grounds come on, but there was a portion where that was all I was doing and I was 40 hours a week busy on that. Because the more you're in construction, the busier you are. If you're in planning, other people are carrying part of the load, the architect's office, stuff like that.
That's a great question. Do you have any suggestions in terms of collaborating with others, waiting for deliverables and things like that to keep yourself sane, I guess? Or
I do think it's important to realize that there are a lot of resources at the university and that, so that, if you are, I couldn't have gotten to where I am without all of the help, right? That, and that the project is better for all of those people that we have,
Absolutely.
So, and just,
Take the opportunities to network. If you've,
yeah.
I found the facilities management community to be very open. So if you've got a question, everyone's very happy to talk to you about what they do, what the project they're working on is about.
Right.
And so just take that initiative. And,
Yeah.
as you can tell with Kit, she's always very excited about what she's working on and happy to tell folks about it. And, she's been able to advance to where she is because, she's driven, she's smart, but she cares deeply about what she does. And
Like so many of us, really. Yeah. And I love it. Our names are on our web pages and stuff like that. And I do get random questions. There was one right after the library opened. Somebody emailed me and said that they didn't like the little pocket for the handle when the door was open. And why did we make that design decision? And, I give them a long answer. Like, go ahead. Like, we work for you, right? As much as anything else.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we have a question from online. Lori Peterson asks, how is the team or project manager, et cetera, chosen to oversee a project?
multiple factors is who's the client and who are the project managers that are available? Who's done similar type work? When we were going through a spring where we had a lot of residence halls coming online, working with housing and residence life is unique than working from athletics. So who has experience with them, who's been successful with them, workload plays into it. But really it's looking for, I like to look at it as we want to make sure that everyone gets placed in a position to succeed. And so part of that is who's the right fit to work either with that customer group, the type of project, and then the timing. We have, but we don't like to change project managers in the process during the flow of a project, but we have to make sure that we put everyone in the best position.
I think what you just mentioned, though, kind of ties into what Kip mentioned a little bit earlier as far as networking and connecting and forming relationships. And, is maybe seeing some success from those relationships as well. So that's maybe an additional skill for a project manager is networking and building networks. That's huge.
Yeah, on that topic of being a project manager, and could you, you're on the spot, but to put you more on the spot, can you tell us a little bit more about, going from being a landscaper here to being a capital and construction and improvements project manager?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I like my job, but maybe I don't want to do it for the same thing for 30 years, so maybe.
So there were three of us that were. When I started at facilities management, there were no project coordinators. There were only project managers and senior project managers. And so project coordinator was a brand new position. And that was the position that I took. It's an entry level position. We've hired either people who are switching career or we've hired people who are 20 years old, right? And so that was the entry level position. And we've had people take that and then, move back out again. And we've had people take that and then, move up. And so that was the special sauce that when I just got lucky that entry level position, somebody's idea to try that out. And so that's what makes it, if you're already director of operations, you don't want to take a project coordinator position. But if you're willing to sort of start back at the bottom, that is the way to learn. And so we have a project manager, a construction administration manager, and sometimes a project coordinator on a project. So I don't do these by myself, right? So like North Grounds Parking Garage has David Sellers, who is more focused on the site and interacts daily with the contractor, whereas I'm a little bit more about the budget and the schedule. I mean, I still want to get on site. But so there's teams that take care of a project. And so the idea was to add this project coordinator. We had Jordan Campbell in the library who had very little construction background, but he just give him a spreadsheet. He was great, and so, but then he helped me by doing some e-builder and stuff like that. And then we'd have him walking on site with Charlie Durr, who'd been in the job for 50 years. So he was able to just start learning by doing and being with other educated people. And so it gave that overlap so that we can all learn as we go.
And does that entry level position there still exist? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mind blowing to me that didn't used to exist.
I know, right?
That's the first I've heard that.
Charlotte and me, and there was one other, and I can't remember who it was. Maybe there was some on the hospital side that I don't know, but the academic side, yeah, you were the first one.
So if you are in the project coordinator role and you're ready to take the next move to, let's say, a project manager, is there any additional education or licensure or things like that you need to make that?
I've taken the classes for the PMP. You don't have to, but it certainly helps. I think a lot of us have done that.
It's awfully nice if somebody gave you some benefits to do that.
PMP is project management professional, right?
Yeah, and you, like SAC, you said, don't take the test, but I'll pay for the classes. That's the old Mark Stannis. I was going to say, and yeah, they're offered at the School of Continuing and Professional Studies, and your education benefit covers those. I mean, yeah.
And most all of our folks, save maybe one, have an undergraduate degree. They're not all in engineering, architecture, or construction management. But we've had, since I've been in my position, we've had two folks that had an associate's degree or almost associate's degree, and actually three that went back to school. They found an online program, and two of them I worked very closely with to find a program that was online that matched their interest and was also a benefit to the university. And they both have since graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in construction management. So it's, if you're willing to take initiative, we found that facilities management's been very encouraging to help you along the way. So we've got a lot of folks that have come up through through the ranks and have shown initiative, taken the initiative to network, to say I'm interested. And then when tasks have been put before them, they stepped into those.
Yeah, I'd say most people are coming out of operations, but it could be anywhere really. Matt Pinnell and so Charlie from Energy and Utilities. And yeah, we certainly look around FM.
Great. Yeah, Dana.
It's two weirdly specific questions. When a building's being built, when is the first time that the building footprint is proposed or like determined? Like not the site, but the footprint of the building. Is that
Early in schematics?
Does UVA specify what we want the footprint to be, or is it more like we specify how much square footage there needs to be and the architect proposes whether they want to build like an L-shaped building or a, okay,
The second.
okay, that makes sense. My other question is, who are the main players in decisions around furniture, fixtures,
And
FF&E?
equipment. It depends if it's a public space or more of a like back of house space, I guess is what I'd say. So like, for instance, the university is trying to standardize classrooms across all buildings, right? So classroom FF&E is going to be a little bit more standardized than, offices for McIntyre versus offices for football operations. It's that department, right? But it gets very difficult, like say in the library, right? The library has books and staff everywhere. So to them, it feels very much like their space. But that is a very public building, right? I mean, anybody in the Commonwealth who has a driver's license can check a book out. We don't have, anybody can walk in there, right? So it's a really public building. So the architect's office says, no, we're not going to let a librarian decide what this building should look like because this is a UVA space. This needs to look like a UVA space. So there's like a real gray line all the way from do whatever the heck you want to architect's office will tell you what you may do.
Who's trying to standardize classroom furniture?
Well, it was Leela and Wynn for a long
Yeah.
time, but now I think that's a new person whose name there's the guy in the arts and science, Stefan, maybe? There's new people. I don't have their names yet.
Thank you.
I can help you get that name though, because I have to interact with them. I can find them.
And I will share, Lori from online had a question. Lori, I saw you starting to type. Do you still have the question or was your question answered? Oh, she's on to her next meeting. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, Lori.
Maybe
I was wondering if you coordinate with project managers from the buildings that are foundation initiated, for example, Alumni Hall, which is, I guess, about to be demoed and rebuilt. And it's like mere feet from other buildings that we on grounds control.
That's Erica Hertz from our team.
Yeah, that's a really good question because you're right. There can be university buildings that are more run by the foundation, in which case, like my department really doesn't have anything to do with that. Darden has an MOU so that they can build their own buildings with their project manager. They have to have a liaison from our department to help them through code and some other sort of making sure they comply with university guidelines. But not every single building does come through our department. So I don't have anything to do with alumni, but I do know the architect's office was on the architect selection. So yeah, but our department, if we're not building it, we're hands off.
Erica, did that answer your question? Okay. Thumbs up. All right, do we have another question?
Yeah.
Please.
Sorry to cut me off.
No.
I guess maybe, I don't know everybody's background in the room, but I feel like a lot of us are heavily on like the back end of construction, maybe design, as early as design. It's always fascinating to me, like in the midst of construction, which can be stressful and surprises happen. It's hard work. How many, like there's literally hundreds, if not maybe thousands of people involved to like build this beautiful thing out of the ground that people will live in and experience for decades.
Yeah.
But I guess like the more I learn about it, the more I'm fascinated about that front end. I don't know if you have that slide up of like how much stuff happens before it's even like, before we see it, if you will. And like, what is that first conversation of like, we think we need a center for the arts? Like, who asks that question? Figure out like, okay, maybe we think it should be this big, who's gonna be in it? Like, what are those early conversations, or when does it come to our plate?
So that has more to do with like this major capital plan. So every year, the SVPO puts out a call for capital plan ideas. And so I think this year, like the College of Arts and Sciences said, we want to look at that precinct around Halsey, Minor, Kirchhoff. It's a little dank back there, right? It hasn't seen much effort recently. So that it has to be, and everybody put, engineering put in their idea, athletics put in their idea, and they each had to say, I have this much money, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to look at, study, right? And so that has to be approved by a central group that says, yes, this is a good use of your money. And then from there, then that will then create sort of a plan that would go in the next capital plan request time. And they sort of slowly get more fleshed out and more, and, there's, I don't know what it looks like, but there's probably something like, 100 ideas and, 80 of them go to study and 20 of them, get to schematic, and 10 of them actually get funding, and some of them hang around on the major capital plan for 10 years and actually don't go anywhere. And in the end, you're only building 5, I'm sure it winnows out. And there are, again, it's pretty much, again, that group of sort of the architect's office, facilities, the senior vice president of operations and planning and budget, it's that, the president, of course, like it's pretty much that same group over and over looking at all of these. Does that answer?
Yeah, I think it's just impressive, like how many people have to make it say yes, we should do this, get all the stars in the line now. And that's even before you like put a shovel in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how many in the room are apprentices?
Nice.
What group are you missing in?
Carpentry.
Electrical.
We sure do need electricians in Charlottesville.
Do we want to?
Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna throw one out. What is the kind of determining factor for like a heavy renovation job, say like Zemer Hall that's been gutted out? And what makes you go, we're gonna do this in-house versus we're gonna contract this out? Because there are certain places, say the hospital, where we've contracted design to come in and do that work when we do have, a team here. So what's kind of that variable if you guys deal with that?
Do you want to answer that, Tim?
It's an art, not a science. It's against how you staff certain jobs. Where's the fit?
Right.
Is it a good fit for the in-house forces? Is it well within their wheelhouse? Do we have availability of labor? Does we not have anything else for them to do? It's a lot that goes into the equation of what's the good fit.
Dana?
If I don't want to take the spotlight, if somebody else has like a smaller question, because I have something, I want to get back to what Kit, I think was saying was like a little bit of like a passion or expertise of yours. Does anybody else have a smaller question? My big picture question then is about this element of like building buildings that work for the people who are going to be maintaining it. It's not really even a specific question, but can you talk more about the like challenges of designing things that are, going to work well for facility staff that are going to be maintaining them?
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously the front line of defense is the university design guidelines. It used to be called the facility design guidelines. And I hope that everybody knows that the, Ben's group, the Office of the University Building Official, is always open to suggestions about things that should go in there. So obviously a building has to be built per the code, that's a law. But then on top of that code, we have the university design guidelines, which say, don't build me paper walls, build me good solid gyp wall board. And by the way, I want FRP in the bathroom so that they're easy to wipe down. So there's those things that have just been institutionalized over a long time. For the Center for the Arts, we recently had a really I thought it was an amazing meeting. I felt like it really was the standard. Like with the architects and all of the different subs, we came up with a day where we said, we're going to talk about elevators, then we're going to talk about fire protection, then we're going to talk about bathrooms and cleaning, and then we're going to talk about waste, and then landscape, and then this, and then that. And there were half a dozen people, again, like a Ryan Taylor, who just stayed there all day long. But the rest of the day, we said, Zoom in at this time, and we would make sure we had the consultant, we had the occupants, like the museum folks and stuff, because they're already working with facilities, right? They have a facility at the university, and they are happy or unhappy with the way that it's already being run. So they were there too. And we just, even though we're only in schematics, we'd say, this is where we're going to put the dumpster. This is what kind of pre-action system we're going to have. This is what we're planning on doing. And everybody was at the table at once and early, and then said, this is working, this is not working. Could you consider this as you move on to preliminary? Served pizza, had drinks, again, had a conference room, also had Zoom. We had people coming from all over, but we also had people that were coming in, and just made it really well known that we can't build it if you don't tell us what you need. Tell us. I can't do everything everybody asks, but I am willing to hear what it is and see if we can accommodate it.
What is that meeting called? Or is that not a typical meeting? Like that was like, is that like a new idea or?
It's not a new idea. We do it in some level, in some form or fashion. But I think partly what happens is, you know, when we get a schematic plan set or preliminary plan set, you know, we used to send it to GES, and GES would send it by email. But not everybody has time to sit and read hundreds of plans that come to them. And also, you know, when I get something like the Center for Arts, which is already 3 volumes, 600 sheets, and, you know, we're only in PDs. God, you know, finding the section that I need is a real pain in the neck, you know? And so having the consultants tell people what they're going to do and letting people react instead of just saying, here's the set, tell me what you want, I think was a really big improvement. And I think we've always done bits and pieces of it, like, and it goes right through construction. When I get a submittal for the elevator, I send it to Eddie, right? So it is I don't know, what's that meeting called?
You should think of a name for it.
And functional meeting or something. But I mean, I actually did save the agenda because I was like, this one went particularly well. You know, it just really worked. And whether you can do it on a smaller, I mean, sometimes too, though, like, I feel a little bit sheepish to say this, but like on a really big project, I'm working with a really big team and telling them, oh, I'm going to throw another 8-hour meeting on them actually doesn't faze them. But if I'm working on a $5 million project and everybody's kind of skinned on the whole thing, and I tell them I'm going to make them sit through an 8-hour meeting, they're like, can I give you a change order? So it's a balance, right, Dana, and as far as like how successful that can be.
Yeah. This is super helpful.
Can I add one thing? Because I got to eat some of that pizza. One of the additional, it's great, I think, for the project, like you said, but also it's a rare opportunity that I get to sit in the same room. I work for sustainability, so I care about like energy stuff and healthy material stuff. But I don't always understand. I'm saying something, but then Ryan Taylor is saying, well, that's a maintenance concern. So there's like, I think, institutional benefits to that as well that even extend beyond the.
Yeah, you don't receive two conflicting notes and have to figure out how to reconcile. You
You're in the same room, you're like, oh, okay.
And the architect's office was there too, so that they could kind of roll their eyes.
Awesome. And like that's, I mean, yeah, that's.
If you only receive 2 conflicting.
Right, yeah, exactly. But to your point,
It'd be well more than that.
when it's like in the same room, it's just so much easier to be like, okay, I didn't think about that or something.
Yeah, I assume there's like a fair number of stakeholders who are like very familiar reading construction drawings, but other stakeholders, like you said, that like, even if it's just like, yes, it's just hard to find the relevant thing in the drawings, but like, you might not also have expertise on like, what is this thing even saying? Like, what is this trying to show? Like, and so being able to get into a meeting and ask a question like, where's the dumpster going to go? And they go right here, like, picture it. This is the edge of the building. And like, this is the edge of the site. Sounds awesome. Yeah.
Very successful project managers take the time to learn how the end users are actually going to use the building, how they go about what it is that they do. And so that they can be an advocate for people that I can look at a set of drawings and still have no idea what I just saw. But if they've done a good job of listening, then they can be the advocate for them.
But that's why this job is so impressive. Like you do so many other things and to also have to be that, like it's great that you can also be the advocate for these different functions. But yeah, it's like kind of mind boggling all the project managers.
I mean, it is, that's why it's such a fun job.
Yeah.
Right, because we have to worry about building envelopes and, low temperature, water and whether or not we can have dark green paint on the wall in the North Grounds parking garage because you can see it from the sidewalk and that's supposed to be a beacon and we don't want green there.
It seems like a lot of people know like a lot about one thing. And there's other people who know like a little bit about everything, but it sort of feels like project managers have to know like a lot about everything.
We lead teams.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about everything. We lead teams and FM supports me all the time, right? Because all the time I'm saying, Cameron, does this make sense? Right? David Jones, can I do this? I don't know, but I know who to ask.
That's cool.
Would you be willing to do another one of these sessions?
I think we have
Like
actually.
so much to.
Interesting you say that because actually I think Mark Stantz actually brought up the concept of bringing up another CC&R presentation
Good.
specifically around renovation.
Love
So
to hear more.
Someone
I have
else- let someone
to
else
dash
remark.
to a meeting I'm
Yes,
late to, but
exactly.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
And
for
I'll be
coming.
waiting to hear more.
Thank you all. Thank you.
I really, yeah, I really appreciate these too. Let's give it,
Good without Tim.
And thank you to everyone online. You will have access to a video that we'll be sending, or that you should have access to for this. And we will be posting this video onto YouTube along with all of our other lunch and learns. So if you'd like to follow up, by all means. And if you want to hang out and ask Kit questions, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.